Hey everyone, welcome back to another unboxing and examination of another 2020 Commander. This is Calamax the Stormsire. So let's have a look at this bad boy. Oh, I hear a voice. My video started, my wife just walks in. See you later. Perfect timing. It's like I literally just told her I'm starting a video, and the next thing I know, she comes strolling in. Anyway, let's get this open, and this time, see if I can't be show a little more finesse, and not destroy everything. So this is our friend Calamax, a 4-mana 4/4 elemental dinosaur with incredibly cool artwork that lets you copy your first instant spell each turn if he's tapped. So if this bad boy is sideways for whatever reason, doesn't have to be attacking, you can copy your first instant spell each turn. And whenever you copy an instant spell, whenever, not just the first time each turn, but whenever, put a 1/1 counter on Calamax. So the theme of this deck, copying lots of instant spells. So let's have a look through and see what the deck contains. Do a whip through. There's our little life down counter, another piece of useless cardboard that we'll throw on the floor. And we've got our deck. Now this time, let's see if I can actually get it open without looking like a total idiot. Aha! There we go. Total idiocy avoided. So, over there as usual. Rubbish back on the floor. Let's take a quick look at the tokens. I always enjoy a good gander at the artwork and the tokens they provide. We have our treasure tokens. We have snake tokens, beautiful snake tokens. Bird illusions, drakes, and so forth. All rubbish. And then, of course, double-sided, we have a really cool goblin warrior. Beast tokens. Beasts. Nice 3/3 beasts. And saprolings. Okay. Tokens aside, let's have a look at our commanders. So we obviously have Calamax. Let's get that focus in order. The light doesn't seem to be so good today. There we go. So whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, that's actually quite easy to achieve. Just fill your deck full of instants. Then we have this new commander, Chris, the Writhing Storm, of 5 mana 3/5 with flying. Whenever your opponent draws a card, except for their first one each turn, create a 1/1 snake creature token. And whenever Chris does combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. So essentially, this is a wheel commander. Doesn't really work in Calamax. Not terrible, but you want to build a deck around this guy and just put loads of wheel effects in there. And then you've got partner commanders. You have, actually, let's do the first one over here, the Fetch Hound. This is a gun dog, essentially. Paco, the Arcane Retriever, an Elemental Hound. It's a partner, it's got haste. Whenever it attacks, you exile each player's top card of their library and put a fetch counter. I mean, how hilarious is that? It's a dog fetching things. And put a 1/1 counter on Paco for each non-creature card exiled this way. So you exile those cards. What do you do with those cards, you may ask? Well, this is where Helden comes in. He can sell the stuff that the dog brings back. Well, not sell it, play it. You may play non-creature cards from exile with fetch counters on them. If you exiled them, you can spend mana of any color to cast it. So they are obviously very much a team. He does basically nothing without this guy, but they don't belong really in Calamax either. They are very cool though. Like the flavor. Now, let's go through and have a look and see as we go through what we're going to take out so we can add some other bits and pieces in to synergize more. We've got a Decoy Gambit, a 3-mana instant. So for each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature that player controls, then return that creature to its owner's hand unless its controller has you draw a card. The problem with this is it's fun, but it gives too much choice to the opponent. So that can disappear. Aeon Frolicker, well, this is a fun card, even if it doesn't work here. 4-mana 5/5 flyer, and when it ETBs, target player takes an extra turn. Not you, target opponent rather, takes an extra turn after this one. and you have protection from that player. So it's quite a fun political card. You can allow someone who's well behind to catch up, perhaps. Maybe you can give an extra turn to somebody who can kill the player that's about to win, or whatever. It doesn't work in Calamax, but it is a fun political card. Maybe fun in a cube or something like that, but that's out as well. Nascent Metamorph. This is a 2-mana 1/1. It's not great. Whenever it attacks or blocks, you choose an opponent and they reveal cards on the top of the library until they reveal a creature card, and this becomes that creature card until the end of turn. So, yeah, this is not particularly great because you could get... It's a 1/1 and you could get a 1/1. There's no guarantee you're going to get anything particularly great from that. Again, fun, but not great. This is an amazing card. A 3-mana instant, so this is staying in because it's incredible. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. This can do many things. This can redirect a removal spell. This can even counter a counter spell. Because if Calamax is out and you get 2 copies of this, you can... Well, actually, no, even if Calamax is not out, you can just use Deflecting Swat to change the target of a counter spell onto this, so it gets itself countered, but it was weird. But yeah, cast this in response to a counter spell, and get the counter spell to target this, because you can choose new targets, and the counter spell will essentially fizzle onto this, and your other thing will get through whatever it might be. Lots of options for this card. It's a good card. I like it. Lavabrink Floodgates, this is new. It's a 4-mana artifact that taps for 2 red mana. And then at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they can put a Doom counter on it or remove a Doom counter. And if it has 3 or more Doom counters, you sack it and do 6 damage to each creature. Again, it's quite a political one. It's not great because other people have more control over who blows up the board than you do. So I wouldn't run that just on principle. I don't like other people having control of when I blow up the board or when the board is blown up. Curious Herd, a 4-mana instant, choose target opponent, create X 3/3 green beast creature tokens, where X is the number of artifacts that player controls. If you're playing Commander, this is going to have use for sure. People play artifacts. That's just a simple truth. To ramp or for whatever reason, or goodness me, if you're actually facing an artifact deck and you play this, you're going to get a lot of 3/3s at instant speed. And if you have Calamax to copy it, you can get an absolute army. This is very fun. I keep this in just to see it and see if it works or not. Why not? Glade Muse. People take this out for some reason. I like it. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, that player draws a card. Well, you're the instants guy at the table with Calamax, so hopefully you're going to be drawing far more cards than them. And because other people get to draw cards too, they may not kill it. They may decide to leave it because, oh, I get a bit of card advantage of it. Whereas you are getting masses of card advantage. So, bit of politics. This is a huge fun card, but definitely not worthy in Calamax. A 7-mana 3/3, which sounds terrible, but it has Devour 3. So devour any number of creatures, and for each one that you devour, put 3+1 counters on this card. So it can get pretty big if you've got little weenies to kill. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage as you choose among X target creatures where X is its power. And they will essentially, it fights them all because then they deal damage back to it. So it fights X creatures where X is its power. So you devour a load of things, make it big. But again, non-Calamaxery. This is an awesome card for Calamax, and indeed any Spellslinger deck, a 3-mana artifact that copies any spell that you copy. So you copy a spell, this says, oh, have an extra copy, gratis. And then you can pay 7 and tap to copy an instant or sorcery spell, which with this will just give it another copy. This is a ridiculous card that will never be taken out. If you're playing Spellslinger, grab copies of that. Jace, Architect of Thought, again doesn't really belong in here. I won't go through all the things that he does, but he does not synergize with spell slinging per se. So Jace, goodbye, much as we love you. This could stay in. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay 1 if you do draw a card. However, I want to cast my spells that draw me cards, so I will probably take this out. Nibilis of Frost says whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. It's a flyer. And those creatures don't untap. So actually this could be quite useful with Calamax. Calamax can get huge with 1/1 counters. I want to swing in with him and hit someone, so how do I tap their creatures down? Well, perhaps using this. Get rid of their blockers. Swarm Intelligence lets you copy instants or sorcery spells. Well, sorcery won't be happening much, but this instant will be happening a lot. Many instances of copied instants. So, staying in. Tauran, the Sky Summoner, creates drakes for every time you cast an instant or sorcery spell. He's a good card. He's staying in. Chaos Warp, many of you will be familiar with this. Ooh, come on, zoomy. There we go. 3-mana instant, shuffle card. Owner of target opponent shuffles it into their library. Essentially, it's a remove almost anything spell, and then they get a random permanent from the top of their library, or potentially nothing, depending on what it is. Charmbreaker Devils. Now, I'm not massively keen on this card. You get an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard for 6 mana, 4/4. It's okay. That's debatable. I may or may not take that out, but here's a good one. Comet Storm. X and 2 red. Ooh, come on. My camera's zoom does not like. Come on, camera, are you sick? Why are you? There we go. So, multi-kicker. So, choose any target. Choose another target for each time the spell was kicked. It deals X damage to each of them at instant speed. Of course, you copy that. So you can kill somebody very efficiently with this card, or kill a couple of players if you've got enough mana. So let's add that in. Commune with Lava. X and 2 red. X are the top X cards of your library. We have better card draw spells than this. This is better in a deck that really struggles with card draw, so like a mono red deck or red-white Boros deck or something like that. So we'll take that out. We have better things. Dualcaster Mage. Copies, instants or sorceries when it ETBs. Great card, staying in. Itali, just a really solid card. A 6 mana, sadly not hasty, but whenever it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, and you can cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Just nuts. Get a lot of free value. Goblin Dark Dwellers, when it ETBs, it's a 5 mana 4/4 with menace. When it ETBs, you can cast an instant or sorcery card that costs 3 or less from your graveyard. Not sure. I think we have better ways of getting stuff out of our graveyard to recast it, and we don't have to exile it with the Goblin Dark Dwellers. Starstorm, very much like the other X spell that we had. It deals X damage to each creature. Great. Board wipe, and then cycling 3. Strength of the Juru, don't think we need this. Some Moldy Kicker again, and you get X 1/1 counters on a creature. I mean, we're not really doing creatures. We're running lots of instants and sorceries. Artifact Mutation says destroy an artifact and create X Saprolings, where X is its converted mana cost. But we've got, again, better options than this. This only targets artifacts, so we can have things that target artifacts and enchantments. This is the Jin Illuminatus. 5, 6, 7 mana, 3/5. Flying, each instant sorcery has Replicate. Jolly expensive. A lot of people are taking this out, but Replicate's quite fun, so might keep it in and see how it works. Melek. Many of you will not need any introduction to this fella. 6 mana, 2/4. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You can cast instant or sorcery spells from the top of your library. And if you do, you copy it. So more copying. Lots of lovely copies of copies. Let's keep that bad boy in. The Prophetic Bolt. 4 damage to any target, look at top 4 cards, put one of those cards into your hand. Again, I think we can do cheaper, right, than 5. So probably leave that one out. Rashmi's amazing. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's an online card with CMC less than the spells, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. So free spells, yes please. Wart gives you goblins. Oh, here we go. Let's get it zoomed in. Gives you goblins, and each instant or sorcery card you cast that's red or green has Conspire, which basically means tap creatures that share a color with it, and you can copy it. So, pretty good. Tap 2 goblins, copy the spell. More copies. Let's keep copying everything. Solemn. Sad Robot needs no introduction. He's in. Then the lands, we're always pleased with these. The Cinderglade, good reprint. Desolate Lighthouse. That's pretty good, actually. Draw a card, discard a card. It's okay if you need to filter through some stuff. Exotic Orchard. Kessig Warfront, I like this. Just make Calamax ginormous and trample over everything. Mossfire Valley, Mossfort Bridge. Don't think necessarily we need this. Put a 1/1 counter each green creature at the end of the battlefield this turn. What's this for? Your tokens? It's debatable whether we want that in. Scavenger grounds, yes, to exile graveyards. Not a bad plan. Yavimaya Coast, Command Tower, Frontier Bivouac, and we come to the cards that we want to now take out. The tap lands, bounce lands rather. Mirror Landscape, Stay, and Rupture Spire. We do not want you. Or a Simic Growth Chamber. Rugged Highlands, Swiftwater Cliffs. They're bearable. But well, there's a lot of cards that we could replace. Let's see what else we have. That's the lands. Okay. Carrying on removals. We'll take out Monder's Ornament. Don't need to explain why. It's terrible. Lightning Greaves is good, although Shroud can occasionally be a problem. I'd prefer the other pair of boots that you can put on, whatever they're called, Swiftfoot boots, because it's only hexproof rather than Shroud. Soul Ring, good. Clash of Titans, yeah, we don't need this kind of fight spell. Channel Force, debatable whether we need this, so I think again we can probably do better. It's not terrible. You only pay the cost once, so there's an additional cost to cast this spell, discard X cards, but when you copy it, you don't need to do that, so you will get advantage out of it if Calamax is out and tapped. But again, we can probably do without those. And Primal Empathy we don't need. These three we definitely don't need. Canvas's Insight is draw 2 cards and it has Jumpstart. It's okay. Frantic Search is good. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, untap up to 3 lands, which says untap 6 lands if Calamax is out and tapped. Mirroring Mystic to create tokens. Whiplash Trap. Traps are not great. They can go. Surreal Memoir. Again, it's a sorcery speed. We can do better. Crop Rotation is amazing. Again, you only have to pay the cost once, which is sacrificing a land. So don't worry about that with the extra copy. So 2 lands for 1 mana and sacrificing 1 land. Evolution Charm, yeah, we can do better. Harrow's great. Again, you only pay the cost once. Hunter's Insight, I quite like this. Calamax about to do damage. You cast this on him, and whenever choose target creature you control whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw that many cards. So Calamax gets big, you draw a lot of cards, pretty good. I want to love this card. It has Storm, but it costs 7 to create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Now, there are cards that we have to add in that are considerably better than this. I want to love it, but I can't. Natural Connection, it's a good card in this deck. 2 lands for 3 mana at instant speed. Yes, Slice in Twain, we don't need 4 mana. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, we have cheaper. Tribute to the Wild. Now, this is okay. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact or enchantment, but it gives them choice. And I don't like giving people choice. I want to choose. Wilderness Reclamation is amazing. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. That's great for a 4 mana enchantment. So much mana can be pumped into spells. Crackling Drakes, okay. But again, I think we can do pretty better than that and eat cheaper mana cost. Growth Spiral is great. And Temur Charm, again, you can fight stuff, so Calamax could fight a couple of things if he's big. You can counter things. It's okay. But again, let's see what else we can put in that's better. So, do we take this out? Do we leave it in? Let's take it out and see if we can't find something better. So now, well, let's look and see what we removed, which is quite a stack of things actually for this deck. So first of all, lands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can easily replace 5 lands. Ooh, excuse me, knocking the camera. And then a big stash over here. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 cards. The good thing is we have an absolute ton of really good cards to replace it. So let's start very simply. Let's go straight in at lands, because some of these lands can really help us with Calamax. First of all, let's go for ways for tapping Calamax. This holdout settlement says you either tap it for colorless, or you can tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. So we can tap Calamax. That's whether he has haste or not. So he's come out, he's sitting there, maybe he's got summoning sickness, we don't care. We can tap him using this, get some mana, cast an instant spell, copy it. Survivor's Encampment is exactly the same. So both of those, very useful lands, and they come in untapped. Spirebuff Canal, just to get some early mana perhaps. Again, you don't see them too often in Commander, but you get them early and it's great. Now, I've already got those 2 lands, let's get rid of those. Now this is one of my own additions that I haven't seen anywhere else. Scarrick the Rage Pit. Add colorless or green and a red. Target creature gets +1 and gains trample. So you haven't got your Kessig Wolf run, but you have this out. This can make Calamax just completely overrun. So some useful little lands there. Now, one thing about Calamax, you do need to ramp hard. I'm not going to talk about all the basic 2-mana ramp spells. You can have lots of other videos do that. I suggest artifacts as well. Something like a Thought Vessel if you have it. Now, I've got one in my folder. They're quite expensive now. And it's good that it gives you no maximum hand size for 2 mana. And you can add colorless. Now, maybe you can't afford it, so don't worry too much. There are other options. Signets are always good. So if you have signets, stick them in. The various different types of signets. But if you can't, Simic Clue Stones are good budget value options. Even the local new Ikoria Ketria Crystal is not terrible because it cycles. So again, budget options. More ramp, we can have something like a Migration's Path. Again, this is a 4-mana sorcery. Again, it's not an instant, but quite a lot of the ramp spells are not instant, and you do need to ramp hard with Calamax. Again, all the 2-mana ones, watch other videos to see what you want to put in from that. But this one came in the latest set, and the good thing is that's cycling, so you draw it later, you can just cycle it away. But ramp, you need to ramp with Calamax. There's some options. What about other ways of tapping Calamax for mana? Perhaps you haven't got your lands. Well, Springleaf Drum is great. A 1-mana artifact. Tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color. So you can tap your Calamax to get him ready to copy your instance, or you can tap your tokens. Paradise Mantle. This is a 0-cost artifact that equips for 1, and then the equipped creature can tap for mana of any color. So again, basically Springleaf Drum, but it's an equipment. Smuggler's Copter, a lot of deck techs are showing this. This is just excellent card in general. It loots a 2-mana 3/3 flying vehicle and crew for 1. So tap Calamax to crew this and then start looting. It's a very good card. And maybe another way to give Calamax trample on a budget is a cheap Ring of Colonia, a 2-mana artifact equips for 1, and the equipped creature has trample. And if it's green at the beginning of your upkeep, you can put a 1/1 counter on it. So, you know, Calamax can always have trample with this. And again, I think it's really cheap. So, okay, how about some cost reduction? Goblin Electromancer is cheap as chips. Instants and sorceries cost 1 less to cast. Now, what about spells in the deck? We are going to want to have an awful lot of instants. In fact, almost everything that we're adding in is an instant. In fact, I think pretty much every spell that's not a creature or an enchantment is. So let's talk about protecting Calamax while he's doing his thing. So you've got classics like Unwind, counter target non-creature spell, and it's great that you can untap 3 lands. So you can get 2 copies of this and untap 6 lands, so you counter something. Now, it is 3 mana, but I like the untapping of lands. Model the Mixture is a good one. Counter target instant or sorcery spell, so a removal or a board wipe, but you can transmute it for any 2-mana spell. And there are quite a lot of 2-mana spells in this deck for whatever reason. Negate is always solid. You should run negate in a lot of decks. It's just good. And then Blossoming Defense, underrated card. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and hexproof. Now you copy this, and it's not just redundant. You know, hexproof doesn't stack obviously, but you give him hexproof and +2/+2, and then the +2/+2 that stacks for sure. So give him +4/+4 with the copied 2 spells copies coming in. It's beautiful. And they try to kill him, and you just say nope. He's got hexproof. And then this is again a very underrated card in Commander. Stubborn Denial. 1 mana counter, hard counter spell if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Calamax is a 4/4 from the get-go. You get him out and you have 1 blue mana perhaps. They think, oh, I'll remove him. Nope, you won't. Stubborn Denial. It is very stubborn. Okay, so that's sort of protecting Calamax. Now, what about doing some damage off our own bat, as it were? Well, let's talk about some removals. Good old Destructive Revelry. This is the better 2-mana option of that card that we got rid of. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. So you get a copy of this, destroy 2 artifacts or enchantments, and do 4 damage. That's good for 2 mana. So, how about one of the latest Ikoria cards? A 3 mana instant that says exile up to 3 target enchantments. So you can exile 6 if he copies this. That's very strong. And you can cycle it for 2 in the late game if you've destroyed all of them. And even if you're looking for even more budget or whatever, Wilt is just a straight up better card than many things, even Naturalize and many other cards that are used quite a bit. 2 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's got cycling, so, just stick stuff like that in and just watch it do hard work. Then that's quite a lot of artifact and removal and enchantment removal. Then you've got your standard creature removal or person removal in Lightning Bolt, 1 mana, and if he gets copied, obviously you're doing 6 damage to something. That's just really good. So a Braid is very budget. A Lightning Bolt certainly isn't. That was just lying around in my collection. But a Braid is a 2 mana that deal 2 mana spell instant that does 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. Now you have to choose the same mode when you copy the spell, but you can do 6 damage to a creature, perhaps, or destroy 2 artifacts. It's not terrible. Now here's a bit of interesting. Not seen this in almost any deck text, but this is a classic commander card. 5 mana instant. But you destroy a non-basic land you don't control, and then somebody else chooses another land that you don't control and blows that up. So you blow up 2 lands, one that you choose, one that an opponent chooses, and then you deal 7 damage to a target creature you don't control, and someone else chooses another creature that again you don't control to do 7 damage. Now just copy this with Calamax. You destroy 4 lands, probably the most problematic lands on the table, and you destroy essentially 4 creatures. This can do work. And now here's one again that I've never seen. This is my own sort of discovery. How about this card? This is Brutal Expulsion. This is a 4 mana card. This is an old Zendikar card. Now, choose one or both. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. So this can be a counter spell. Someone casts something to blow up your Calamax, and they tap out to do it. Well, you put the card back in their hand, and then you copy it, and you can bounce one of their creatures. Or say they cast their removal spell and you're attacking with Calamax. So they cast something to kill your Calamax. You know that they can recast it. So the first copy of this, perhaps, bounces the spell back into their hand or does something. Now maybe they can recast in response to that or whatever. But, I mean, your first copy could even bounce Calamax back to your hand. And then the second copy bounce one of their creatures and their spell fizzles. So I like the fact it's any creature. You can just return Calamax to your hand if he's going to die, and then bounce someone else's stuff, or return the spell to their hand, do all sorts of craziness. Or you can do 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, which can be 4 if you copy it. So an interesting little piece of tech there. Now we want to talk about card draw. There's the classics that people have been talking about. Fact or fiction, which is amazing. Reveal 5 cards. An opponent puts them into 2 piles. Choose 1 pile. Double that. You get a choice out of 10 cards. 2 piles out of 10 cards. That's a lot of value. Steam Augury is very similar. It's an instant for 4. And again, you choose the piles this time rather than your opponent. So a different kind of selection, but obviously 10 cards. Underrated card is Opportunity. 6 mana, draw 4 cards. Or in Calamax's case, 6 mana, draw 8 cards. Can be amazing. Classics like Opt. 1 mana to scry 1 and draw a card. Or scry 2 and draw 2 cards. Might have Impulse in there as well. Cheap and cheerful. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. 1 into your hand, rest on the bottom of your library. Repeat with Calamax. Now, is it just me, or is this just a better budget version of that other card that we were looking at that was 5 mana for 4 damage and some card selection? But this does 3 damage to any target. You get to look at 2 cards, put 1 in your hand and the other in your graveyard. Yeah, very budget. So, we're casting all these spells, but maybe we want to work up to some kind of finisher or something like that. So how about making lots of mana? So Desperate Ritual, copy it. Obviously, we get 6 red mana. Then we have Pyretic Ritual, which is exactly the same. You can copy them. And then we got Seething Song, which for 3 mana lets you add 5 red. Copy this and you're going to get 10 red mana. What about Turnabout? Turnabout, untap all artifacts, creatures, or lands target player controls. So untap all your lands, tap them for mana, then retap them with the copy of Calamax. First the copy goes on the stack, you untap all your lands, you retap them for mana, turnabout, then the original turnabout goes on the stack, you tap all your lands again, so on and so forth. Just tons and tons of mana you can make, not to mention all the other copying spells. You can make just ridiculous amounts of mana and then cast a gigantic, perhaps Electro Dominance or one of the other storm things and kill someone. And then Electro Dominance is great because you get to cast free spells too. So, nearly at the end. Bit of a payoff. Got a Gutter Snipe. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, it does 2 damage to each opponent. And our little Sprite Dragon, which is a super cutie. It's a 2-mana flying haste 1/1, but whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. And I like that the 1/1 counter is a kind of a much more permanent, strong effect. So with the other card, if your graveyard got exiled, yep, kind of screwed. Becomes nothing. Get some cards back from your graveyard. Archaeomancer. Now I like this, but I think the other 2 cards are better. Reclaim. Being an instant, you can put a target card on top of your library from your graveyard. Copy that. Just awesome with Calamax. And our old friend Noxious Revival, which for 0 mana, just 2 life, you can put 2 cards on top of your library. And last but not least, we're casting a lot of spells, so Shark Typhoon from the latest Ikoria set should definitely go in here. Create lots of flying sharks. Arachnogenesis. Instant speed, create a ton of spiders. If someone's attacking you to eliminate you from the game, create an absolute spider swarm with this. If you copy it with Calamax. And then this is one I've never seen anyone talk about, but it's cheap as chips. Fated Intervention. 5 mana, instant, put 2 3/3 Centaur enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. And if it's your turn, scry 2. But obviously Calamax copies this, you'll get 4 of them, and scry 4 if it's your turn. That seems pretty decent to me. So that's the main batch. As you see, try to keep most of these spells instant speed. Very few creatures, lots of interaction, and for one last flavor win, perhaps, if you can get this to work, Song of Creation, which says you can play an additional land on each of your turns. Oh, the camera's doing jiggery-pokery things. Let's get it. There we go. You can play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. Now, if you can get this to work as a combo piece in this deck, I applaud you. I certainly want to try. I think there's janky ways of making, maybe circling cards round and round and round till you make a stupid amount of mana and combo out and do something dumb. Try it. Why not? Don't be hidebound. If you can get it to work, make it work. Okay, that's a few additions to Calamax the Stormstar. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, adios.